When you're underwater for months at a time, you lose all sense of day and night. And there's only awake and dreaming.
You're listening to the Fun with Horror podcast with your hosts, Scotty and Andrew.
Hey everybody, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Scotty.
And welcome to episode 112 of Fun with Horror, the movie review podcast in which two long-distance best friends stay in touch by taking turns giving each other horror movies to watch and discuss.
That's right, and at the end of last episode, it was my pick. I chose Underwater.
What?
A movie that I have seen and Andrew has not. But that means at the end of, well, yeah, now you have. That means at the end of this episode, Andrew is going to pick our next movie, so stay tuned for that.
Yay.
But until then, hi, buddy.
Hey, Ian, how's it going?
Oh, man. It's going well. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be back. Like we were a little bit discussing a second ago, you and I have not recorded together in a while. Just
Correct.
Because I moved.
Yes.
I moved to the other side of the state, man, and life has been insane. And yeah, so I'm really happy to be doing this again. It's been a while.
You're all the way on the other side of the country now.
Well, I mean, I'm still in that state, just on the other side.
Oh, I just meant from the other side of the country, from New York.
That's true. For all of our New York listeners, you're 3 hours later. So,
yes. Well, how did it go? Are you okay? I like the curtains behind you.
Thank you. Yeah, they came with the place. Yeah, we're okay. It's a lot of work, a lot of stress and anxiety, lack of sleep, but hey, we made it, and yeah, we're here. So, lots of things, lots of good and lots of bad.
Oh no.
Yeah, just new place, new issues and things that have come up, but landlords are doing what they need to do to make it right. So hey, I'll take it. But
if you go outside and you look up at your windows and you see a pig with glowing red eyes looking out at you,
I do.
Leave the house immediately.
Oh, okay. All right. That's not good?
That's an Amityville Horror reference, my friend.
But is that not good then? Don't do that.
Somebody's just going to murder your entire family, maybe you.
Fair. Okay. Yeah, we'll probably head out. How are you, man? Enough about me. How are you doing?
Man, I'm pretty good. I'm doing okay. I'm getting by,
Yay.
I just want to I do want to take a moment real quick.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the last time you and I recorded together was before I recorded There's Something in the Barn with Stanley and Alex from the Gory Gaze. And
yeah, dude.
You and I recorded our year-end episode even before that. So it's been a while since you and I have recorded together.
It has been a while.
I do want to take a moment and I want to say thank you to Stanley and Alex for jumping in a couple episodes. Everybody else that has not listened, you can go back. Both of them joined me for There's Something in the Barn, and then Stanley joined me for Pet Sematary 2, our last episode. And thank you so much to the Gory Gaze for helping out when Andrew was busy in life.
Yes, thank you. I genuinely appreciate that. So amazing. Much appreciated, much love.
I got another story for you, pal.
Oh, okay.
So I actually won tickets to go see Night Swim.
Oh, right. Awesome, dude.
I think I mentioned a little bit of this to you.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Night Swim, went with my friend, and it was basically two groups of people that were going to this early screening. It was maybe 10 to 15 to 20 people in my initial group, and we got to go in first. because we had won tickets through a trivia group and everything, and it was really cool. We had our pick of the theater. We were able to sit wherever we wanted.
Nice.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the rest of the theater was filled with GoFobo winners. They had won tickets from GoFobo. This was at an AMC theater. They made up the bulk of the theater. Man, I did not end up seeing Night Swim. And let me tell you why.
Lay it on me, man.
So as the masses started to shuffle in,
Mm-hmm.
a guy, like, this was a packed theater. Every seat was packed. The guy sitting behind us, this older guy, immediately sat down and was like coughing. And at first I was like, okay, maybe he's just got a, little, maybe he swallowed wrong. Maybe he's eating some popcorn.
Right.
He just kept coughing and coughing. I did that thing where I turned around. I gave him the, like, what the hell, dude? Look.
Right.
No mask. Didn't even sound like he was covering his face that much. So,
Gross.
You know what? Since it was a free screening that we won tickets to, we left. And
Nice.
I said, I'll just see it again another time. And I got a T-shirt out of it, so that's nice.
Well, that's good, but what a bummer, man. You and I have talked about this. I know I feel like it was one of our earliest episodes, just theaters and some of the things that bother us when going to the movie theater. And that's definitely one. So I get it. I'm sorry, man. That sucks.
Yeah, it was a bummer, dude.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's about all I've got. Are
Right
you
on.
ready to talk about our movie?
Let's do it.
I love you, buddy.
I love you.
And I especially love you underwater.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how bad's my rig?
10.
Underwater was released in 2020. It was directed by William Eubank, who also directed The Signal. Have you seen that?
I have not.
It stars Kristen Stewart, Vincent Cassel, Jessica Henwick, John Gallagher Jr., Mamoudou Athie, or Athie. It might be Athie. It was written by Brian Duffield, who also wrote Love and Monsters and No One Will Save You.
Ah, okay.
And also written by Adam Cozad.
Cool. And of course, anyone listening, this is your spoiler warning. We are going to talk about the movie Underwater. So if you've not seen it and you don't mind spoilers, stay here. Listen. If you do not want spoilers at all, go watch the movie and then come back and listen. But we are going to talk about all things underwater. So here's your warning.
All right, Andrew. So Stanley and I, as I told you, we started a new thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to roll a virtual 10-sided die.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and pick odd or even, my friend.
We'll go odd.
Okay, if it's odd, you're doing the 3-minute recap.
Okay.
If it's even, I'm doing it.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right.
My friend, it's 1.
Oh, no, it's me.
It's you. It's a you.
It's a me. Oh, gosh.
Oh,
right.
boy. This is
Oh,
a change.
boy. Yeah, it is.
So,
We get all their names.
What if throughout the entire next year, like you always end up doing
It's just
a
me.
recap?
That would be a bummer.
It's possible. It's very possible.
Oh, gosh. All right. Oh, boy.
If you come in over 3 minutes, I have hired somebody to come by your new house, your new place.
Mhm.
They're going to put you in a very heavy underwater diving suit,
Nice.
and they're going to throw you to the bottom of the ocean.
All right. That sounds
That's it.
right.
That's it.
Cool. All right. Typical Tuesday. Let's do it.
All right. Whenever you're ready, then.
Oh, gosh. All right.
I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of play time.
Okay, so the movie starts out, and we have Nora, who is underwater in this huge, giant, I don't even know what you call it, drill that's underwater. It goes way down to the bottom of the ocean. There's a crew there, and all of a sudden there's a pressure break, which every chunk of wall and everything starts caving in. Water starts caving in. She runs, meets up with Rodrigo, and they kind of escape through a hatch. During this time, though, it's pandemonium. It's crazy. The place is shutting down. Things are breaking. People are getting killed. They make their way and meet with the captain, as well as a few other co-workers. I can't think of the right words, but they're all on this underwater vessel. They eventually decide that they have to obviously escape, get home. Some of the pods that go up to the surface are not working, so they have to go to a different section. So they have to leave and go underwater. So they get in their suits, go underwater. Right away, though, Rodrigo, unfortunately, blows up because there's a little crack in his suit. And under the water, obviously, there's pressure, breaks him. They eventually make their way to another section and try and find their way out. So a couple people decide to go out, look for another exit. They find a dead body underwater. And within the body, there's a creature, a little creature that they eventually grab and bring into the inside of the place. They look at it. It's clearly something they've never seen before, and kind of leave it there. And then they decide to go. Well, the creature eventually kind of gets out. They eventually go to another section underwater, and the creature grabs one of the people, pulls him under, and kills him. Again, a lot of the movie is them trying to get to another section where, unfortunately, underwater, there's these creatures that have been kind of released and are taking each one of them one by one. By the end, it's just Nora by herself for a bit. She decides that she needs to go and either escape or find some of her other crewmates. That's the word. So she puts on a big suit and goes out into the water, where she finds two of her crewmates, which is fantastic. They eventually get to the area they're trying to get to, but unfortunately, it's covered with these creatures that are all kind of sleeping. They eventually get through the creatures and get into this main building. And of course, Nora looks up to see this giant Cthulhu-type creature. That's this huge being at the bottom of the ocean. Eventually, all three of these characters get to the escape pods. Two work, one does not. Nora makes them go in these pods and get out, while she stays behind and sets off essentially a nuke to destroy all these creatures as well as herself. And throughout the credits, we see that the two escaped and made it to the surface, and everything's being covered up by the government. There you go, ish.
Amazing. You came in just under 3 minutes.
Hooray!
You're staying dry today, my friend.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you, buddy.
Andrew.
Yes.
I have told you many times, in fact, when we first started this podcast and you told me your fears and stuff, how one of your fears is things under the water and deep underwater. The first movie I thought of was Underwater.
Makes sense.
I wanted you to see this movie for a long time. We all know that I love this movie, and I will lavish my praise over it in a little bit. But first, I'm a little bit nervous. You've finally seen Underwater. What did you think, buddy?
Buddy, I hate to disagree with you, but I'm not going to because I really liked it.
What?
No, I thought this was so. Obviously, we're going to talk about this, but the first thing I want to say, while watching this movie, I go, this is really reminding me of Alien. I go, this is so much like Alien in a good way. And I go, this has got to be like an homage or something, because there's just so many beats, minus, of course, major things. But there was a lot of beats that reminded me of Alien. In fact, even at the end when she gets in her final suit, it's this yellow suit. And the first thing I thought of was like Ripley and the Yellow Machine. I'm like, or, Yellow Robot. So I'm like, this has got to be some homage. And I Googled it later because I was like, there's something. And it did say it was kind of a love letter to Alien, which I was like, there we go. Beautiful. So, and I love Alien. So I was like, this is great. So it was super fun.
Which they don't even mention anything about that in the commentary or any of the three. There's like 3 behind the scenes little videos on with my whatever, my iTunes copy of the movie.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's obvious. I think it's obvious that it's a nice little homage to Aliens.
Totally.
And it's got enough differences that it's not a ripoff,
No, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. There was definitely things, obviously, that were different, but there were certain beats where I was like, oh, okay, that's an Alien reference, or it has to be. And it was nice. It was fun to watch. So I liked it.
I tell you, after watching this movie again, and
Mm-hmm.
even especially after watching the making of documentaries on the with the movie,
Mm-hmm.
I always felt this, but I truly feel it now, even more than before, that this is one of the most underrated movies in the entire horror genre.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, and you and I have kind of discussed this a little bit. This movie came out at a real bad time.
Yeah.
And so no one saw it. I didn't even know about this movie until you told me about it. I mean, it was out and done. No one advertised for it. I mean, I feel like it was just it was a bummer that it wasn't advertised as much as it should have been.
Yeah, man. I mentioned this at the end of the last episode, but this movie was one of the, I guess, casualties of the Disney 20th Century Fox merger. 20th Century Fox made this movie, then Disney bought him out, and this is not a typical Disney movie, so they shelved it for a bit.
Yeah.
But then they wanted to release these movies that they had on the shelf, and this was one of them, so they just unceremoniously released it in January of 2020. And I tell you, I went to see this movie in the theater.
Really? I totally forgot about that. Okay. Wow.
Blew my socks off, man.
Yeah, dude.
I was sitting there, and, you know, we've done our spoiler warning.
Right.
And you've already described the whole movie. But, yeah, when it got to the end, I was just sitting there going like, that's freaking Cthulhu, man.
Right? Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That is amazing. And I was just blown away. Everything about this movie, there's one little facet of the movie that I don't love.
Oh,
and we'll talk about it in a second.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the movie's fault whatsoever.
Okay. I'm very curious because I actually don't have anything in the dislike section for this. It's all praise. So I'm curious what your
I'm
whatever
just
it
say
is.
it right now then.
Yeah.
I always forget when I sit down to watch this movie, I always forget that TJ Miller's in this movie.
Yeah.
And I don't like him as a person.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm not going to get into everything he's been accused of and everything he's done, but you know, I'm just done with him. And I hate the fact that he's in this movie because it's such a fantastic movie and he actually does an okay job in it.
Right.
And we're going to talk about his character, but I don't want to talk about him at all. In fact, yeah, that's about it.
Okay, that works for me.
Anyway, so first thing I love about this movie, we're going to talk about it all.
Let's do it. That's what we do.
I love how this movie takes no time in getting started.
Yes. Immediately. And so here, one thing I did want to bring up too, before I forget, is in the opening credits, before the movie kind of begins, we see just like articles or things. And one thing that's mentioned is what can happen underwater is hallucinations. There's one like thing there. So throughout this whole movie, I was thinking this was all in her head. Because I'm like, oh, that's got to be like a, you know, it's one of those blink and miss it kind of moments, but I saw it. So I was like, oh, I wonder if this is all, she's underwater. It's been too long. This is all a hallucination or something, which I was like kind of bummed throughout because I was like, this is cool. And I'm bummed if this is going to turn out to be a hallucination, which it didn't. So I was at the end, I was like, yeah, they went for it. Like this wasn't a total rope-a-dope. So I was very happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the whole thing that they mentioned, the hallucinations, it's the corporation is kind of a Weyland-Yutani type corporation, except I don't think, at least in this movie, they're not trying to capture these monsters and bring them to the surface. They're ignoring the fact that the monsters are down there and that it's dangerous, and they're automatically just shrugging any stories from the bottom of the ocean off as to hallucinations.
Yeah, makes sense.
But at the same time, a major key factor in any Lovecraft story is a person going insane.
Right.
And the movie does somewhat deal with that without going too far into it, which is nice. You know, Kristen Stewart has that moment, or Nora has that moment when she's at the, not the Roebuck, which is the drill at the end, but she's at the Shepherd drill unit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is like the old roving unit that moves along the floor of the ocean.
Right.
And when she's in there, there's that quick cut moment where she's just kind of losing her mind a little bit, but not really losing her mind. She's maintaining control over it, which is the best part.
Right. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, jumping back to what you said, this movie does genuinely start out with a bang. There is no character interactions. I mean, there's nothing. It's her brushing her teeth, and it just boom, which is pretty great. It's a great way to start a movie.
Yeah, and going back to what you said,
Mhm.
the exposition that we need is during the opening credits.
Right.
All the character development is done during the movie,
Mhm.
in between all the action and everything that's going on, which can fail disastrously in a movie. I know there have been movies where I felt that characters weren't given enough character development before we know them so that we can care about what happens to them. But this movie seemed to do a really good job, in my opinion at least, of developing these characters as we watch them go through everything they go through.
Yeah. Yep.
Let me ask you this, because this is what I was super curious about.
Mhm.
How tense were you during this movie? How much did the underwater aspect of it get to you at all, if at all?
So I knew you were going to bring this up. So one thing, I need to rethink some things, because I mentioned, obviously back in the day, for those that haven't listened, I mentioned that one of my fears is kind of underwater, darkness underwater, things like that. And I don't know if that's necessarily in movies now. Like we've watched a few underwater movies, and I'm like, it doesn't, like this movie I was tense, but more because of the situations. I mean, they're in some really hot water, pun intended, but they're in some intense situations, which, yeah, I'm tensed up. It wasn't because that they were underwater, though. I wasn't frightened by that. So I feel like maybe dark underwater things, if it's me in person, is horrifying. Watching it on film, I'm not sure if it is. I always thought it might be. So I need to rethink what scares me now in movies. I really do, but I don't know. So to answer your question, long story short, I was not tense because of the underwater. I was tense because of the situations they were in.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Underwater movies then. Open water, did that scare you?
No, and it didn't. Mm-mm.
Jaws.
No, but I do love Jaws.
Piranha. Have you seen Piranha?
I've actually never seen Piranha.
Okay, well, never mind.
Okay.
So, I don't know, man. Maybe you're not scared of underwater in movies.
I guess not. I don't know. And well, yeah, I don't know. I
mean,
know.
this movie doesn't scare me, but it does have an incredibly tense situation throughout.
Yes. Yep,
It's
exactly.
an extremely claustrophobic movie, which is
Yes.
amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because here's the thing, I was realizing today, this movie mirrors the same type of movie in space, right? As
yeah,
we
exactly.
said,
Mm-hmm.
it's an homage to Alien.
Mm.
When I watch Alien or Aliens or Alien 3 or Alien Resurrection
There you go.
or Prometheus or Alien Covenant, when I watch any of those movies, I'm tense and I'm nervous for the people because of the creature.
Right.
They're dealing with the same type of things that can happen in space that can happen at the bottom of the ocean. It's very parallel.
Right.
You know, if you're out in space and your helmet breaks,
Right.
you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the bottom of the ocean. If your suit gets a rupture in it,
Mm-hmm.
you're effed, you know?
Yeah. You are.
But that makes me more tense in an underwater situation. That's more real to me, I guess.
I get that. I agree with that, because that can be kind of anybody. Not everyone is an astronaut. So,
Yeah,
but anyone can
I
go
mean,
in
not
water.
everybody's going to go to the bottom of the ocean either.
Right. But still, I mean, we've all been in a pool or a lake or anything. So
I have
I
been
get
in
that.
the ocean.
Oh yeah, me too.
But yeah, so that's one thing I loved about this movie the first time I saw it, and every time I've seen it, is that there's not just the tension and the fear of the creatures under the water.
Right.
There's also just the fear of their situation, and that opening shot where the camera just goes down the entire length of the pipe that goes all the way down to the drilling unit, just to give you a feeling of how deep under the ocean they are. That's terrifying to me.
I agree. And I appreciated that too, because it's like, in some movies you can think, oh, they can just swim to swim to the surface or whatever. But by showing that, I mean, if they're out in the ocean, they're done. If anything happens, they are done. There's not a chance they make it to the surface, which, yeah, again, adds that extra factor.
And of course, just to make everybody feel better, this movie was shot entirely in New Orleans.
Oh,
and it was shot in a old Lowe's.
Really?
Yeah, you know what Lowe's is, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And yeah, it was shot in an old Lowe's that had actually been damaged by the hurricane. So
wow. Huh.
And that's the other thing that really gets me about this movie is that I'm going to get into the CGI here.
Mm-hmm.
Because this movie felt very practical.
I would agree.
Especially for a movie with so much CGI in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of practical stuff. Their suits are real.
Right.
A lot of the indoor sets are very real, and they're very realistic looking.
Nice, yep.
Of course, when they're on the ocean floor, this is the most amazing part, man.
Right on me.
When they're on the ocean floor, they're in an old, broken down Lowe's.
It's crazy.
It's completely dry. They're actually wearing these super heavy suits that they talked about a lot in the bonus features. These suits are like 85 pounds.
Oh, jeez.
So the suits themselves were very, very difficult to perform in, which makes me appreciate the performances in this movie even more.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But everything that made them look like they were underwater was CG. All the silt floating through the water, especially even when Nora and Captain Lucien are under that rock, and he's trying to save Liam, and then he gets pulled. But they're on the ocean floor, and all that silt and dust and dirt, like, kind of coming up. That was all CGI, man.
Wow, that's really good. That's impressive.
The most impressive thing to me, though, is that when they are underwater, their suits had no glass in the helmets. The glass in their suits is all CGI.
Wow. I would never have guessed that. That's awesome.
Neither.
That's
Me
awesome.
neither. Man.
Holy moly.
And it makes me think of how far CGI has come and how far special effects have come, because, you know, we used to have in older movies, we had these helmets with these glasses where you could barely see the people's face behind the glass of the helmet. And I remember when James Cameron made The Abyss.
Oh, yeah.
And he purposely made these helmets with the more square-shaped glass in the visor or whatever, so that you could make out the actors' faces easier.
Nice.
And then fast forward to 2020 or 2019, whenever this movie was made, now they just don't put glass in the helmets at all, and they add the glass as CGI later.
Wow.
And you can't even tell.
That's so cool, man. That's crazy. Honestly, I really thought that was just part of the suit, so that's impressive. That's pretty awesome.
One more impressive thing. Did you know that all the creatures and the Cthulhu old god monster, those were all real? They actually lived in the depths of that Lowe's that the hurricane had torn apart. Yeah, so they just used what was there.
Wow, that worked out well for them. That's pretty impressive, too.
Yeah, it was just supposed to be a movie about the dangers of underwater drilling, and they were like, hey, we have this old god here. Let's use it.
They lucked out, man. They lucked out.
God.
The Lowe's Cthulhu was there to help them.
All right, but to be serious, one of my favorite behind-the-scenes tidbits here that I didn't know. Okay, what did you think of the stuffed bunny? Paul and the stuffed bunny.
I was fine with it. I thought it was silly, but I was like, there's one thing that I'm okay with, and you know me, I can be a little, I don't know, judgmental is the right word, but uneasy, I guess, about ambiguity of things. We never really get the story behind it, but I was kind of okay with it. Obviously, this thing meant something to him. You know, clearly they take it and, you know, are going to bring it up to the surface, and it could be to give to a family member. It could be to bury it. It could be whatever. So I was fine. I liked it. I was cool with it. But I'm curious what this behind the story is.
Okay, well, when they were filming the movie, when they first started shooting it, they shot all those scenes with a real bunny as well.
Whoa.
So they made TJ think, and I guess the rest of the cast think, that it was going to be a real bunny in the movie. So he treated this bunny so gently. And of course, when they replace it, okay, we're going to do the same scene, but we're just going to replace the real bunny with this stuffed bunny. They led him to believe that they were just going to use the real bunny scenes, and anything with the fake bunny is just like, we don't want to use the real bunny all the time, so we're just going to use this fake bunny and then replace it.
Awesome.
So then later in the shoot, they're like, okay, so we're not using the real bunny. We just wanted, we did that so that you would treat that stuffed bunny with such care and reverence that you would treat an actual bunny.
Amazing. That's awesome.
And let me tell you, all those scenes, you can go back and watch on iTunes, because all those scenes are in there.
Oh, that's awesome.
The director, there's a commentary during those scenes as well, if you want to listen to it. And the director, William Eubank, actually says that he does feel like if they had kept the scenes with the real bunny, it would have distracted. Like, people would have cared more for the bunny than they would have cared for the people.
Totally. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Wow, that's brilliant. That's hilarious. But what a way to get the emotion. I think that's pretty awesome. Kind of brilliant.
Yeah, totally.
I love it.
And he's totally right. William Eubank, everything that I heard him say and how this movie was made was so smart.
Yeah.
And yeah, everything. His thought process behind all the, you know, it was going to be like these tentacled underwater creatures. Their very first creature that they came up with was, it just looked like a horrific octopus.
Okay.
Like an octopus with a bunch of like teeth on its tentacles. So yeah, it's horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you still see it in part of the movie. There's that part where Nora comes across the octopus at the bottom, but it's kind of a monstrous octopus, and it lashes out its tentacle at her.
Yep.
That was kind of an Easter egg. Like, it was such a cool design. We don't want to completely get rid of it.
Cool. Okay.
So we're going to use it at this part. Yeah.
I like that. That's cool. That's awesome.
So let's talk about the creatures then. First of all, baby creature. The one that came out of the guy that they killed and brought on board. What'd you think of that one?
I mean, it's great. Again, I'm assuming that was a practical effect.
Yeah, that one was practical.
Yeah, and I liked it. I liked the design. I thought it looked great. And again, I think that was kind of the moment where I was like, oh, this is a lot like Alien.
Yeah.
You know, it was this new thing is on the ship with them. You know, I liked that though, and I like the style, I like the look, so I was totally on board.
You knew this was a monster movie going in, right?
No, I don't think I did. I don't think I knew anything about it. I just knew it was underwater.
And that it starred Kristen Stewart.
And that it starred Kristen Stewart. That was pretty much it.
Were you surprised at all when creatures entered into the movie?
Yeah, I was, but in a good way. It wasn't a bad surprise. I was cool.
Yeah, as a horror fan, I'm sure it was a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah. I honestly, what I guess in my mind thought it was going to be was just more of a she's stuck underwater, not much oxygen kind of a movie. You know, more like how is she going to get out sort of a thought, or sort of a film. So I really had no idea going in.
I think that would be more of an action suspense movie.
Right. Well, yeah, that's true.
So was it in the back of your head, if that's what this movie's about, why did Scotty pick it on a horror podcast? No,
because I thought that sounds horrific to me. So to me, that's a horror. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
True. So I had seen the very first trailer for this movie.
Oh, okay.
And the trailer did show the scene where they're walking on the floor of the ocean. And it's kind of the first time they come in contact with what they call the clingers in the behind the scenes.
Cool.
Mainly the part where they have all their lights turned off except for their helmets, and the guy is shining the light over Nora's shoulder, and the big, huge clinger appears behind her for a quick second.
Yep.
Dude, what an amazing... The suspense and the way that they introduced these creatures and showcased these creatures was incredible, in my opinion.
I totally agree. You and I have talked about this, where sometimes when a creature is finally shown, we're like, okay, now it's less You know, depending on the movie. But, you know, this wasn't one of those. Once we see the creatures, I was like, okay, this is still scary. Or this is still horrifying. So I appreciated that. It wasn't all right, now I've seen them, it's okay. It was like, oh, now I've seen them, yikes.
Good. I'm glad, because I remember specific movies where you felt differently.
Mm-hmm.
And you weren't alone, I've found out. I'm not going to name the movies. You know what I'm talking about.
I do. Yeah.
But other people felt the same way you did.
Hey, all right.
So basically what we're saying here is you're the correct opinion in all of these podcast episodes we've done, and mine is wrong.
I already knew that, but I just said, you know what? Let Scotty have his moments, Andrew.
This is why I love you. You just let me go on. You let me go on with my little beliefs.
You know, it's because I love you. It's just plain and simple.
Thanks, pal.
You're
I'm
welcome,
crying right
buddy.
now. I'm getting tears in my eyes. You're such a giving tree. Yeah. So, okay. So then jump ahead to, and we'll talk about some of the other stuff in between, but jump ahead to where Nora finds Emily dragging Liam on the ocean floor, and they get to the Roebuck, and they're in that corridor.
Yeah.
With all the creatures' limbs hanging down, and you realize, oh, there's a whole bunch of these creatures.
Yeah.
I want to know your reactions, man.
Dude, I thought it was great. I loved it. I knew what was coming. Obviously, they say, they got to get through.
Right.
So we know that they're going to get through, and of course, there's going to be some intense moments. I didn't know there was going to be a Cthulhu, but I knew that obviously they're going to wake up, or something's going to happen. They're not just going to get in and, let's wipe our hands of that. That was easy. But knowing that was coming made that scene even more intense, because you don't know how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen, but you know it's coming. So for me, I was like, something's about to happen, and I don't like it.
And to me, every single time I get to the end of that movie, I get a huge thrill, because I remember my feeling the first time I saw the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And just sitting there so nervous because they have to walk through, and it's a part, we've seen it in many horror movies where sleeping creature, you have to walk past it. They're going to wake up somehow.
Right. Yeah.
But the fact that there's just a bunch of them hanging there, and they have to walk through these dangling limbs and stuff. And just thinking that that's the fear. That is the fear we're supposed to be feeling right now, that they're going to wake up all of these sleeping creatures, and now there's a ton of them.
Right.
And then finding out that all these sleeping creatures are attached to this huge behemoth, this Cthulhu, this old god.
Right.
And it's so funny, because in the behind the scenes making of, I think they mentioned Cthulhu in the commentary once.
Okay.
But they didn't specifically say he was Cthulhu.
Right.
But in the making of, behind the scenes, there's a whole section on the creatures and the CGI. Cool. And they call him an old god.
Nice.
They said he started out as this behemoth, just this huge behemoth creature with tentacles, and then as they developed him, they realized that he was an entity. He was an old god. And that's all they say is old god, and you know that that's Lovecraft right there.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And the look, I mean, everything about it, I was like, oh, okay. But I loved it. I thought that was great. What a nice thing to see in a movie. So I was totally on board with it.
It blew me away so much.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, what was your reaction? Because you saw it in the theater. Were you just like, what the hell? Or, I mean, was it awesome in the theater seeing that?
My mouth was wide open. It's one of the best reveals in any movie. I had no idea it was coming, and it was such an amazing reveal, and I felt like it was so well paced out.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, misdirected, because you think that the fear is that there's just a ton of these creatures, and you find out, no, there's a ton of these creatures attached to a huge giant creature.
Right.
And the fact that throughout the movie, the creatures had just been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then finally you get to the giant. So yeah, I mean, this is why it's one of my favorite horror movies ever.
Nice.
I don't know. It might jump into my top 20 after watching it again. It's
Nice.
so underappreciated.
Yeah. I agree. I'm hoping it's. I hope when people see that we're doing this episode, it gets some watches because it deserves it. It deserves it, man.
And I hope they watch it before they listen to us. Because
Well, that's what I'm saying. I hope that they see. Oh yeah, that's right. It's coming up. I gotta watch it. So
yeah.
I want them to get some more views.
What do you think of Kristen Stewart?
I've always liked Kristen Stewart. I think she's a great actress. And I mentioned this actually in our April 1st episode. So with Taylor Swift in our April 1st episode, she gets like a bad rep for being an actress sometimes. And I think it's just because she's popular and people just have negative things to say about popular people. Like, she was really good in that movie. It's the same with Kristen Stewart. I feel like people kind of bash her. And I don't know. I mean, I'm like, she's like her acting. And I'm like, she's great. I don't have any reason to bash her acting. I think she's wonderful. So I've always liked Kristen Stewart, and I think I always will. I think she was great in this.
And of course, you're referring back to our first April 1st episode in which we talked about a Serbian film.
That's right. Yes, that's correct.
Taylor Swift was amazing in a Serbian film.
I mean, yeah, kind of stole the movie, really.
Please go back and listen to it. If you don't remember her being in that movie, she comes in later in the movie and she's just got this amazing scene. So
yeah,
go back
really
and listen to
yeah.
our first Serbian film episode.
Yes.
I think it was, what year was that? 2022.
Yeah, it sounds right.
So good. But yeah, I was thinking about that myself, my friend.
Yeah?
I saw Kristen Stewart for the first time back when David Fincher released the movie Panic Room.
Yeah, buddy.
And she was just a little girl. She was the little girl.
Yep.
Did she have asthma? Was that it?
Yeah, she needed her inhaler. So yeah, yep, must have been asthma.
I haven't seen Panic Room in so long.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it was.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, who were the bad guys in that movie?
Jared Leto.
Yeah, that was Jared Leto.
Okay. It was Jared Leto was the bad guy. Yep.
Morbius himself.
Still need to see it.
Yeah, I've liked her since then. I always felt that it was a shame that people attached a stigma to her and to what's his face?
Robert Pattinson.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
All I could think in my head was Edward, and was his character.
Right.
But yeah, I feel bad that people attach such a stigma to both actors because of Twilight and that series.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which coincidentally is our next movie, I think.
That's right. Yep. Spoiler, letting people know already.
Oh, sorry, it's your pick, isn't it? And I ruined it.
It's fine. Thanks anyway.
What if we did the whole Twilight series?
What do you mean, what if? Obviously, that's a 2024 goal. We've talked about this many times.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine?
Listeners would drop to like 10.
Yeah. This isn't horror.
From the 12 we have now to 10. It would be amazing.
Yep. And that's like people we know.
Vincent Cassel was amazing in this movie.
Oh, yeah. He's always great. I'm always
great, him. But he had this ruggedness in this movie that I just loved.
Yeah. Because he was the captain. He kind of was the one that was. I like how he played that part of I'm going down with my own ship. Kind of that kind of a character, and he played it perfectly. And
then the other surprise for me when I first saw this movie was Jessica Henwick.
Yeah, dude.
Who at the time I think I only knew her from Iron Fist,
right?
In which she played Colleen Wing, a character you and I know from our Marvel nerd geekdom, whatever.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I love Jessica Henwick. I think she's a fantastic actress, actually. I love the fact that the writer of this also wrote Love and Monsters, which she also stars in.
Yeah, dude. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
That was a fun movie, too.
So, yeah, I liked all the acting.
I
also loved the cinematography.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
The director of photography's name is Bojan Bazelli.
Nice, dude.
Not really familiar with him, but, man, the way he filmed this movie was beautiful.
Again, this is one of those movies where you can take so many shots and make a poster out of it or some kind of beautiful picture. So,
yes,
definitely agree.
And Jessica Henwick in the bonus features was saying that one thing she appreciated about him is this would be a very easy movie, being as claustrophobic as it is, for a cinematographer to just put the camera in the actors' faces and have those shaky action moments.
Yep.
And he refrains from doing that. There are some shaky moments with the cameras.
Right.
But a lot of the action, he pulls back and lets you see it.
Nice. Yep. I agree.
Man.
Yeah.
Man, what did you think of the moment on that underwater floating platform? The platform that's like, it's attached to the ocean floor or something. It's like the circular platform. It's right before what's his name? Captain Lucian dies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, that scene was crazy. Yes.
And the creature is stalking her around the platform.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, the first thing I thought of was a moment from the Uncharted video game series.
Ooh.
It reminded me a lot because there's a moment in there where I think you're going on a platform or something, and there's these creatures that are all coming up from the sides, which have been in lots of video games. We've had levels like that, but it totally, the first thing I thought of was that, and I was like, oh, that level is scary, so this is freaky.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
Yeah, it was a great scene.
Dude, and then when the creature tries to swallow her head right there.
Yeah.
The first time it does that.
Yep.
I was like, holy crap. Because you don't expect the creature to actually get to her at that moment. Right. You know, you expect something to happen to push the creature away, but then, yeah, it just gets to her.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then, okay, I mentioned it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I love that when they get Liam out from the crevice or whatever,
right,
before Nora and Captain Lucian are taken away,
I
love that after they were taken away, that Emily, not knowing what else to do, just started dragging this man across the ocean floor, not knowing where she's going.
Right.
Oh my gosh. And that Nora finds her after changing her suit, going to the drill, the shepherd drill, and having that moment. I also love that. I loved finding out that Captain Lucian, the whole thing with his 14-year-old daughter. Because at the beginning, he mentions that his daughter is 14, and Nora's like, oh, she's got to be way older than that now.
Right.
And you think that, oh, maybe this captain is losing his head a little bit.
Right.
But no, she died when she was 14, and Nora just didn't know that.
Yep. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, dude. Oof, heartbreaking. But yeah, that was a good scene. I loved the whole moment of her getting into that building. Like we said, we kind of get those shots of her. We get that picture, and then we get the suit up. Which, again, that was that moment when it was yellow. But I was like, another Alien reference. At least that's what I thought. Who knows? But I thought,
sure,
there's got to be some kind of reference to it. Just because an Alien, I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, there's the yellow suit.
I think most people have seen Aliens.
I think so.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I think so. But
in that shot, going back to the cinematography, that's one of those shots where the camera pans up on the floor, and the floor is, wet, has all the water, and she's just crouched over on the floor. What a beautiful shot.
I know.
There's that shot. There's a number of others, but the other one that stands out to me is at the end, after she has put, and we'll talk about this in a second, after she's put Emily and Liam in the escape pods, and then she's just sitting in like that kind of that control room.
Yep.
And it's just the silhouette of her.
Yeah. I know
with the
exactly
water in front of her shining and reflecting, and, just hints of the old god, the behemoth outside the window. What a gorgeous, gorgeous shot.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Beautiful.
I think that plus all of the lighting in the movie where they were able to keep things dark.
Totally.
But still illuminate things the way you're supposed to. And let me throw you into any number of horror movies where somebody is outside in the woods, for instance, and the moon is somehow so bright that you can see everything in the woods in the middle of the night. And you know that, that's just because of key lights and whatever, but you're aware that somebody has lit up these woods. In this movie, the characters are in these suits that I've mentioned before, and the suits have these little lights on them. And at every moment of this movie, you truly feel like the light that is around them when it's dark is solely because of these little spotlights on their suits.
That's very true. That's a really good point. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah. Good call, man. I guess I didn't even think of that, but now thinking about that, I'm like, yeah, that's totally true. There was nothing where you went,
yeah,
that's not real.
Well, these are the things I noticed because of my job, but
but I like that. I love that.
So what did you think? Let's talk about the ending.
Yeah.
What did you think about the end?
I loved it. So I wasn't sure what they were going to go with because we've seen it before in movies where, people need to escape. Are they all going to escape, or is one going to be broken? Which, of course, one is broken. But I love that. And I need to look up what's her name's character, Emily. So Jessica Henwick's character is like, no, I'm not letting, I'm not going up. And I love that Kristen Stewart, Nora, just punches her in the face.
Yeah.
It's like, that's that's kind of the only thing you could do in that situation if you want her to sit down and go. So I just, and it was so abrupt. I was like, yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly right. Like it was a good moment, and it showed a lot of her character of what she's willing to do to make sure her friend gets safe, even if that means hurting her. Like, It was just, I liked it. I thought it was a good moment.
I did too. And I especially like it because Emily is such I don't want to say a weak character, but
right.
She's the one that seems to be the most scared throughout the movie.
Yep.
And the one that needs the most help. And I think I love that at the end, she kind of finds her strength by dragging Liam across the ocean floor. And then not only does she do that, she's the one that grabs Nora and pulls Nora inside the rowbuck.
Yeah.
At the end.
You're right.
I love that. But then I feel like at that point, Emily's like, she's found her strength and now she's going a little bit too far with it. And Nora has to be like, no, stop. You're going up there. You're surviving. Stop it. Stop. You're not sacrificing yourself for me.
Yeah.
You need to be with this man you love,
Totally true. Yeah.
But I also love the idea that just them getting in the escape pods and going up towards the surface isn't enough.
Yes. Yeah.
The creatures start to fly off of Cthulhu, off of the behemoth, and they start to chase the pods. And so Nora, as we know, sacrifices herself, blows up the rowbuck in an attempt to blow up the old god, the behemoth, and to blow up all the creatures that are swimming towards the pods and to help Emily and Liam escape.
It was perfect. It was awesome. And I agree. Yeah. We didn't need that, but I love that it, again, added that extra factor. Like, that's great. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I love the way the movie just ends with that shot of Nora looking just straight ahead at the behemoth and the water just like dripping upwards.
Yeah.
And then her closing her eyes, and then the movie ends.
Yep. Dang, dude. And then, of course... go ahead. No.
No, I was going to say William Eubank referred to that as Nora's ascension. She was ascending at that moment. That's why the water's going up. And
beautiful.
But you're going to mention the end credits and all the...
Right, yeah, I was just going to say, again, we get kind of that exposition like we did at the beginning, but with the end credits as well, which, again, you see that they made it, which is lovely, but government's trying to cover everything up, which... makes sense.
Not just cover everything up. They're going right back down there. They're going to...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes.
And go right back at it.
Yep.
And part of that, I'm sure, is able to leave it open for a sequel.
Underwaters.
Yes. I can't wait for Underwaters. Finally, buddy.
Yeah, man.
This is one of my favorite movie scores by Marco Beltrami.
Yeah.
I love the music, especially that theme, which is just such a haunting, lonely theme at the beginning of the movie when the camera is going down the drill, the length of it. It's the main theme of the movie, but it's just such a perfect theme for this movie.
Yeah.
It's
I actually had
descending notes, and It just really sets the scene. It feels like an underwater theme.
Dude, that is exactly what I was just gonna say. Like, if I swear, I love you. I was gonna say, like, if you had listened to this without any context or anything, that would be my thought, is like, oh, underwater. So that's brilliant. I love that, and that's praise to the composer as well for that, because well done.
Yeah, it was one of these scores that was done by a major composer and then somebody else who works, I guess, under him or alongside him. It was Marco Beltrami, who has done many movies that we love.
Awesome.
He's done the Scream films.
Oh, nice. Yes.
He did A Quiet Place 1 and 2.
Nice.
He did The Wolverine.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, and I think he did Logan as well. But yeah, he's done
cool.
a lot of good movies, and I like his scores. A lot of them are a little more subdued than I expect, given the movies that he does sometimes.
Sure.
But he always has some really memorable themes. That said, I do think this is my favorite that he's done.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. This is one that I constantly put in my music library. If it's ever taken out, I put it right back in, because I love when the score to this movie comes up in my playlists. It's so good.
That's awesome. Beautiful, man.
And I know I said that was the last thing, but I do have a few more things.
Yeah, I'm here, man. Let's hear it.
You are? Oh.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
I love it when you're here. Andrew.
Yes.
You mentioned the similarities between this and Alien.
Yes.
But one thing I didn't even notice in 3 watches of this movie until I listened to the commentary, the homage in this movie to Alice in Wonderland. There's so many little references to Alice in Wonderland. Number 1,
rabbit.
At the very beginning. No, that's like number 2.
Okay.
Number 1, the camera is panning across the hallway, and on the door to the restroom, there is a Queen of Hearts card. On the door.
Man. I did not even remember that.
Then you have the White Rabbit that continues throughout the entire movie. So, in essence, Nora is following the White Rabbit in a way. Also, when you first see him, he's shirtless at the beginning. And if you look at his tattoo on his chest, it's the Cheshire Cat.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And he's definitely the Cheshire Cat.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
And I would almost say, man, I wonder.
Well, even the whole beginning of the drop down to see the whole thing is like falling down. So I'm like, that makes sense.
And after everything goes nuts at the beginning, Nora going down through the tunnels is like going down a rabbit hole. And
her going through the little tunnel. She's big and has to go through that little tunnel. Totally in Alice in Wonderland.
I didn't notice that, and there's another Queen of Hearts card on her chair in the cockpit room.
Oh, funny.
She sits down at her little console, and so this was it wasn't exactly an Alice in Wonderland story, they said, but it is an homage.
Cool. I love that. That's awesome.
Another moment I loved in the movie was after, I hate to say it, but after Rodrigo implodes.
Yeah.
And they end up on that balcony looking out over the ocean. To me, that's one of the most terrifying moments in the movie.
Oh, totally.
Just because she's looking out at this blackness and it's the ocean. And that is one of the moments in the movie where I think of how scared I used to get when I would go bodyboarding and I'd have to go out to the deep water and I'd have to focus on not thinking of what was under me.
Yep.
Because I was like, this water's over my head right now, and anything could swim under me right now, and I wouldn't know it. And I just have to ignore that.
Yeah.
I'm getting nervous even thinking about that right now.
That's where I get nervous too. That's what I'm saying. Is like, if it's me, it's different.
That's why under open water scared the hell out of me, man.
That's fair.
I'm surprised Open Water didn't get to you, because that movie preyed on that exact fear.
Here's the thing. I need to watch Open Water again, because I watched it at 14, and there's a scene in it that I was more focused on than anything else at 14. So I don't remember much else from that movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, 14-year-old boys. Yeah, come on.
I will tell you, and I think I've said this before, maybe way back in the beginning, Open Water, I saw that in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I saw it at ArcLight Hollywood. That movie stressed me out and made me so nervous that there was a point in that movie where I wanted to get up and leave the theater just because I was way too nervous. I was so anxious.
Wow.
And I haven't seen it again since that day.
Wow. Okay. Good to know.
Here's an interesting thought. Moving on to something else. In the commentary, one thing I thought was very cool and creepy is that the filmmakers compared all the creatures coming off of the behemoth's skin and out of the little pores in the skin.
Mm-hmm.
They compared it to those YouTube videos where you see like a spider and it's got like a bunch of stuff on its back, and then somebody touches it and all these little tiny spiders all like swarm off of it.
Totally. Yes.
Oh,
yuck.
And you know how I love spiders.
Oh, yeah.
There is an alternate ending, something else you can watch if you so feel like it. There is an alternate ending where Nora actually escapes.
Oh.
She kind of fixes the third pod.
Okay.
So that she can, she's an engineer, so she's able to fix it at the last minute and get away and blow up the, it's much more Alien.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Jeez Louise. Yeah. I like the hero
last
sacrifice.
thing. Yeah, it's nice, but I like the way it ends myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that had been how the movie ended, I would have felt that it was cheating.
I agree. Yeah. Yep.
Also, finally, going back to the bunny and the use of the real bunny. If you watch the movie carefully, when Liam is in the pod, when they're closing the door,
right,
it's the last glimpse you ever see of that stuffed bunny. And if you look closely, it's the real bunny in that last shot.
Really? That's awesome. That's actually pretty awesome. All right. Well, that being said, my friend, should we do our 3 questions?
What a segue.
I know, right?
Well, let me read off of the prompter.
Yes. Today, Scotty and I would like to do 3 questions. I did good?
That's you're too good an actor. Like you can't be a bad actor if you tried. That's how good an actor you are.
Boy, my acting career would tell you different, my friend.
What? You starred in Big Love alongside what's his face?
No.
Bill Paxton.
It was Bill Paxton. I did not star in it. I stood next to him.
I'm sorry. When I watched that episode, it says Big Love starring Bill Paxton and Andrew Hilliard. You were also the star of the film Knife Point. You also starred in a Nickelodeon show, my friend. What was the name of that amazing show?
I wasn't the star, but I was in the first episode of Victorious on Nickelodeon.
Victorious. And the masses, after that first episode aired and more episodes aired, the masses were like there was an online petition and everything. What happened to, what was your character's name?
Eli. I was Eli on that.
What happened to Eli? Why did you guys get rid of Eli? There was an outpouring of support for you.
It was probably just my family members. Boy, I'm going to have a big ego today. Thanks, buddy.
But to answer your question, yes, I'm ready for 3 questions.
Oh, okay, cool. I love you.
Who would cross the bridge of death must answer me these questions 3.
All right, my friend. Question 1. What was the best death/kill in this movie?
Well, I'm going to go with Paul because I was so happy when they killed T.J. Miller.
It was a crazy death though too.
It was a pretty good kill.
Yeah.
And I like the way his face scrunches as it's being pulled through his suit. There's like that moment where his face just like scrunches up, and I love that moment.
Yeah, that's a good one. That was good.
What about you?
I got to go with Rodrigo. I think just the first kind of major kill was a dark one, man. I mean, like, geez, to blow up from pressure. Oof.
If Paul hadn't been played by T.J. Miller, I would have gone with Rodrigo as well.
Fair enough. I love you.
I love you.
All right. Question 2. Was it scary?
Well, for me, as we've already talked about it, but to reiterate, for me, it's not so much scary as it is just extremely tense and claustrophobic.
Yep.
I could see where this movie could be scary to others, though.
Mm-hmm.
You?
Yeah. It's exactly what you just said. Claustrophobic, tense, scary for others. 3, man, and we already know this. Did you have fun with horror?
It's one of my favorites, man.
Yeah,
it may be in my top 20 horror movies of all time now. I don't know.
Love it. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. What about you?
I did. I loved it. Yeah.
I'm so
great.
glad, dude. Because
Me
this
too.
is like it's one of those movies that is so dear to my heart. And it breaks my heart when people don't see the same beauty and genius in this movie that I do.
Mm-hmm. I totally get that.
And I think I would like to challenge anybody that saw the movie, knew the twist at the end, that there was a behemoth, that it wasn't just the little creatures.
Right.
That knew that twist and then didn't care for the movie. I would challenge those people to watch the movie again and just pay attention to the journey that all the characters go on.
Yeah, I agree.
Ignore the fact that TJ Miller's in it and just enjoy the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And enjoy Kristen Stewart's. Dude, I love the way she acts nervous. And there's moments where just the look in her face and her eyes and the way she looks at characters and the way she reacts to somebody is just, to me, so well done. So good.
Even there's one, like the very first thing that we see her do, where she kind of runs in that room and then has to close the door and is fixing the thing. Like sometimes when people are doing that, I'm like, okay, you don't know what you're doing. But when she does it, I mean, she's that good that I was like, oh, I feel like she knows exactly what she's doing.
Yeah.
To fix this. So I totally get where you're coming from. And I absolutely agree.
And also, how freaking great is that slide she does into that room?
Yeah, dude. Yes.
She is badass in this movie, man.
She is. Yeah. Yeah.
I love
totally
Kristen
agree.
Stewart. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Yeah, man. I'm with you.
Twilight.
We did this. We drilled the bottom of the ocean. And we took too much. And now she's taking back. We're not supposed to be down here.
Buddy, we talked about a week ago, maybe less. And you said a couple things.
Yeah.
That threw this next choice of yours, in my mind, into flux. I had an idea of a few movies you might be picking for our next movie. Now I have no idea. So go ahead. Tell us a story.
So we're not actually going to do that one now. But I am going to explain
which one we're not doing.
So let me explain. So
we're not doing that one. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But let me still explain why.
Andrew, you take it away. You take it away, buddy.
I'm here, buddy. Don't you worry about Baby Bird. I'll feed you.
Don't let me interrupt you anymore. Okay?
Okay.
I'm done talking. So anytime you want to start and tell us the story, go ahead.
Okay. So
I'm just going to sit back and listen.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. And then, God, I love you. I wish people could have seen you do that because it was adorable.
Why? Because I was holding onto my nipple while I was saying it?
Absolutely. Honestly, I'd say 95% of our podcasts, you're just holding your nipple the entire time.
What's our next movie, buddy?
Yeah, man. No, so like I mentioned, there's some things that have happened here at the new place that have been just things. But one of them, the other day, my neighbor came over, kind of across the street, and she goes, tells me I needed to move my car because it was on the street. And she's like, "You'll get a ticket." So blah blah blah. But then she just jumps in and goes, "We have a rat problem in this area." And I go, "Oh, okay." And she goes, and it all came from this house, the one I'm now living in. Which I was like, "Oh, awesome!" And I had seen a couple rat traps in the garage. I was like, "Yeah," but they renovated some of the area, and she said when they did that, all these rats just scurried out. She's like, they just all came out. So anyway, we had a guy come and jump under the house, and fortunately, he found like 2 dead rats that are like 15 years old. So it seems like maybe she had been exaggerating a little bit, which is fantastic. But during that time, I was like, oh, I have a new fear of rats. Because then I didn't sleep very well because I'm like, what if there's a rat in my bed? And what if I blah, 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 or hear it in the wall? And so now I don't like rats. They freak me out. So I was actually going to pick Willard because I thought, why not add to the fear of rats? But after hearing all this, I was like, I don't know. And then I looked on iTunes today at all the horror movies out, and I was like, oh, but there's so many that I really want to see. So I changed my mind. We're not doing Willard.
Okay. Well, I don't think Willard's that scary. I don't think so.
Well, I don't know. I said horror, so I was like, all right.
It's a movie. It might be the same as underwater things. Like once you see it in a movie, you're like, oh, I'm not scared of this.
Right. Exactly. So we're not doing that. Instead, I want to think of the things that I'm thankful for of this new place. And what better way to do thankfulness than Thanksgiving?
This is a challenge to me, my friend.
Uh-oh. Okay.
You're challenging me.
Why?
Because I have such an OCD bone in my body that doesn't allow me to watch Halloween-based movies around when it's not around Halloween. I don't watch Christmas movies around Christmas, and I've been sitting here thinking, great, when November rolls around this year, we'll do Thanksgiving then. But now we're going to watch a Thanksgiving movie in January or February.
I can switch it, man. If you can't handle this, I can switch it.
Hey, you're challenging me. You know what? I also have to watch The Holdovers, which is a Christmas movie now because it was nominated for Best Picture in the Academy Awards. And I have a thing every year where I watch all the Best Pictures.
Yeah, man.
So it's Christmas and Thanksgiving in February for me.
But that's nice. You get some extra holidays. I don't know. I got nothing.
All right. Well, you know what? It's a movie I missed and I was looking forward to seeing. So
yeah, it was the number one today, at least when I looked on the horror genre of movies to buy. So I was like, oh, nice. And a buddy of mine actually, hi, Jason. Shout out to my buddy. He had mentioned he went and saw it in the theater like during when it was out, and he was like, "You're gonna love this." So I've been really excited to see this one. So yeah, and you can. Awesome. It's unfortunately only rent or buy. It's not streaming anywhere. So Apple, iTunes, Amazon, Vudu, wherever you get your movies, that's where you can get it.
Hell, maybe it'll be streaming by the time we record and the episode's released, because that's 2 weeks from now. And you never know what could happen in 2 weeks' time.
That's true. That is true. Thanksgiving in this house.
I think you do Thanksgiving better. Thanksgiving. And of course, before we go, everybody, thank you for listening.
Yes. Thanksgiving for listening.
Thanksgiving for listening to Fun with Horror.
Yes. We love you all. Thank you. It's always fun to see that you listened and to chat with you on Facebook or anyone that jumps on there and writes us and says things. We love it. It's beautiful. We love you all.
And if you're still listening, let us know how this episode sounded, because we're using a new thing. And I know that there may be kind of a couple little audio glitches that you might hear throughout the episode.
All right.
We were using Zoom to record our podcast. Now we're using StreamYard for the first time. So
yeah,
just send dear flick me or Andrew and say, hey, this episode sounded like.
I think this was the last transmission from the drill site.